Okay, let's unpack this essential yet often overlooked figure from ancient Egyptian civilization. When you picture Egypt, you're usually focused on the scale, the pharaohs, the priests, the pyramids.
The big stuff.
But if you want to understand who actually kept that entire complex machine running, you have to look past the royalty.
Right. You have to find the person who was the true essential link between the powerful rulers and, well, everyone else.
The scribe.
Exactly. This is the big idea we need to grab onto. The scribe wasn't just some clerk or, someone who wrote letters.
No, not at all.
They held arguably the most powerful and absolutely the most necessary non-royal job in a civilization where maybe, 1% of people could read or write.
It's an incredible statistic.
Everything. Managing military supplies, calculating taxes, documenting religious rituals. It all depended on the person with a reed pen and a piece of papyrus.
Without them, the entire Egyptian kingdom would have just ground to a halt.
It absolutely would have.
Which is why we have to start with their status. If you imagine the Egyptian social pyramid, farmers and laborers are way down at the bottom.
Right, the base.
Craftsmen, soldiers, they're a step up. But the scribe.
Oh, they were firmly in the elite class. They held a position of immense influence and power.
And it all came down to one rare skill.
Literacy. That simple skill granted you life-changing, permanent privileges. It was basically a golden ticket to the good life.
A golden ticket how?
Because they were literate, scribes were instantly exempt from the toughest, most brutal parts of ancient life. Think about the daily reality.
Okay.
They didn't have to do the grueling, back-breaking physical labor in the fields. They didn't have to serve in those demanding labor gangs building the monuments.
And the greatest perk of all, which is just shocking to us today.
They were exempt from paying taxes.
Wild. They were the ones collecting the taxes, calculating what everyone owed, but they didn't have to pay a thing themselves.
That advantage is massive. It elevates them not just socially, but economically, far above pretty much everyone else.
And this high status was something they were proud of. You can see it in how they chose to be remembered.
Right, in their statues. Something only the wealthy could even afford to commission.
They almost always chose a specific pose. They're shown sitting down, often cross-legged, with a papyrus roll spread out on their lap.
They are visually and permanently asserting that their identity and their power comes from one place.
Their professional skill, their intellect.
It's an incredible statement. My weapon isn't a spear, it's a pen.
And this path to power was so respected that even the sons of pharaohs, who were already going to rule, were trained as scribes.
Yeah, the future king had to master the rules, the laws, the complex account books.
If he stood any chance of managing that massive, intricate machinery of the country effectively.
It just shows you how deeply the Egyptians understood that real governance relies on administration and record keeping. Not just, divine decree.
That power, though, it came at a steep price.
Oh, a very steep price.
The access point to the elite required years of absolutely brutal education. This was not a quick community college course.
Far from it. We're talking 5 to 10 years of intense, grueling discipline. The path was incredibly difficult, and it started when a student was just a small child, often around age 5.
Wow.
So that required a huge commitment and, crucially, a massive financial investment from the family.
And what were they even learning in these schools?
They'd go to special schools, often located right inside temples or big government buildings. They studied under master scribes and had to memorize hundreds, eventually thousands, of different signs.
And it wasn't just about drawing them beautifully, right?
No, the real challenge was understanding all the various meanings those signs could have depending on the context. It's incredibly complex.
The practice must have been relentless.
It was. And they couldn't waste expensive papyrus. That was a precious commodity. So students spent hour after hour every single day practicing their hieroglyphs on cheap, disposable stuff.
What kind of stuff?
We find limestone chips. They're called ostraca. Or even just pieces of broken pottery, totally covered in student exercises.
So it was only after they got really, really good.
Exactly. Only after they became demonstrably proficient were they allowed to move up to using the delicate, costly papyrus for their official lesson.
And the classroom environment sounds pretty intense.
Oh, the teachers were notoriously strict. We have records of student complaints and teacher warnings that really emphasize discipline. Physical punishment was common to keep the kids focused.
And they actually wrote about this.
They did. We see proverbs recorded by scribes themselves, like, the ear of the boy is on his back. He listens when he is beaten.
Oof, that's harsh.
It really emphasizes that the training was meant to instill not just knowledge, but total obedience to the system.
And because it was so long and so expensive, it naturally created a barrier.
A huge barrier. Most of the boys who became scribes came from wealthy, established families who could afford to support them for all those years.
So after years of this discipline, they finally get to master the writing itself. The first system is the one we all recognize, the hieroglyph.
Right, the beautiful, formal pictures that represent sounds or ideas. The ones you see carved into stone monuments and tomb walls.
And this is where the adaptability of the scribe really shines.
They had to learn to write them from right to left to right, even top to bottom, sometimes all in the same monument.
It all depended on the space they were filling or the look they were going for.
But imagine trying to do the country's daily accounting using those complex little pictures.
Oh, it would be far too slow. You'd never get anything done.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Administration needs speed. So for quick, everyday business recording inventory, writing letters, tracking rations, they used a crucial shortcut.
A simplified cursive version of the writing.
Yes, called hieratic script. It
Yeah.
allowed them to record information much faster than drawing those detailed pictures. It made them efficient.
And to handle both precision and speed, every scribe carried a specialized kit.
A highly specialized set of tools in a portable wooden case. This kit was as important to them as, say, a laptop is to us today.
And the centerpiece was the palette.
Right, a block of wood with two circular wells for ink cakes.
Black ink was the standard for the main body of the text. But that second color, red, was extremely important.
The red ink was critical for drawing attention. It wasn't just for decoration.
So what was it for?
Scribes reserved red ink for corrections, for writing headings or titles, for marking significant dates on a calendar, or, and this is the most common, for signaling the start of a new paragraph.
So it was a formatting tool.
A highly visible formatting tool to guide the reader.
And the pens themselves were fascinatingly simple.
But effective. They used slender reeds for writing, and their brushes were made from rush plants.
How did they make the brushes?
A common technique was to just chew the end of the rush to create a fine, flexible bristle. It was perfect for painting the script onto the papyrus.
And they'd complete the kit with a few other essentials.
Yeah, a small whetstone to keep the reed pens sharp.
Yeah.
A little jar for fresh water to mix the dry ink cakes.
And a smooth piece of wood that acted as a writing board to keep the papyrus stable.
They were the original, self-contained, highly mobile administrators.
And when you look at what they actually did, you realize they weren't just taking dictation, they were managing the entire national infrastructure.
They were the ultimate state managers. The pharaoh relied absolutely on them to manage the empire's vast resources.
Starting with the most important resource of all, the Nile River.
That's right. Every year during the annual flood, a scribe's vital task was to record the precise height of the river.
Using special measuring devices, the nilometers.
And this was basically ancient data science. That one measurement, that number, directly predicted how successful the harvest would be.
Too low, not enough water. Too high, and it's destructive.
Exactly. And based on those flood levels, the scribes would then calculate exactly how much grain each farmer owed the royal treasury in taxes.
So they were the key economic forecasters and tax assessors for the entire nation.
But they weren't just tracking agriculture. They meticulously tracked every single thing coming into or leaving the royal storehouses.
Detailed ledgers for precious metals and stones from mining expeditions.
Lumber shipments from international trade, distribution of food rations to thousands of workers. Nothing moved without a scribe recording it.
But their role went way beyond accounting. There were also highly skilled mathematicians and, well, and
engineers. Civil engineers, basically. Think about it.
Yeah.
Every year, the Nile flood washed away all the boundary markers separating people's land.
Chaos.
It would have been chaos, but the scribes were the solution. They used advanced geometry to redraw those boundaries perfectly.
So everyone got their rightful land back. How do they do that?
They used specialized knotted ropes, actually, to lay out a perfect right angle that formed the basis for accurate surveys and land redistribution.
And these math skills were central to Egypt's most famous projects.
The pyramids, the temples, all of it. Scribes were the ones calculating the number of stone blocks needed, estimating the time, managing the logistics of feeding and paying the workers.
They were the measurement specialists.
Absolutely. Their standard unit was the cubit, which is about 18 inches, the length of a forearm. And they had highly standardized cubit rods to ensure measurement was consistent across the whole empire.
Which is how you get these incredibly precise, massive structures.
That's how. Whether it was calculating the slope angle for a pyramid, counting cattle for tax purposes, or serving in the army to track supplies and soldiers.
They were embedded in every single major operation.
And their influence extended right into the justice system, into the law itself. Scribes served as court reporters and legal experts.
So if a crime was committed, a scribe was there writing down the testimonies.
Yep, and they were the ones who maintained the official copies of all the laws and royal decrees from the Pharaoh.
Which means their written record was the final authority.
It was. If you had an important contract, a land sale, an inheritance, a marriage agreement, it had to be written and witnessed by a scribe.
Their document was the final, legally binding evidence. It's how they resolved conflicts.
And they were the engine of the international economy, too. They monitored the entire system of trade.
Standing at the docks, recording every ship carrying cedar from Lebanon, incense from Punt, gold from Nubia.
Making sure it was all fair and standardized. They weighed every sack of grain and jar of oil using standard stone weights.
So everything was documented and transparent?
And they even served as translators and negotiators on trade missions. Ancient commerce diplomats.
Finally, we can't forget their deep involvement in religion.
A crucial sacred role. In the temples, they were the copyists of sacred knowledge,
They were responsible for copying the hymns and spells that defined Egyptian cosmology.
including the really crucial text we know as the Book of the Dead, which were placed in tombs to guide the soul safely into the afterlife.
And they were the astronomers and the calendar keepers?
They tracked the movements of stars and planets with incredible precision to determine the exact dates for religious festivals.
Ensuring traditions were preserved and that the ritual balance of the universe, what they called ma'at, was maintained.
So when you connect all these threads, what stands out is that the ancient Egyptian scribe was really the architect of history.
Their dedication to documentation, recording everything from grand royal decrees and engineering plans down to court cases and shopping lists.
That is the fundamental reason we, thousands of years later, understand how that civilization lived, what they valued, and the incredible scientific knowledge they had.
The stability, the wealth, the sheer longevity of the Egyptian kingdom rested entirely on their ability to write and to count.
They were holding the blueprints to their own civilization, literally.
It makes you wonder, who are the scribes in our modern data-driven world whose records will define our legacy thousands of years from now? Study hard, because the power of documentation is eternal.
We'll see you next time.